In the 1950s and 60s, psychedelic research flourished all over the world and showed great promise for the fields of psychiatry, psychology and psychotherapy, neuroscience, and the study of mystical experiences.
There was a period of more than a decade of very productive research using psychedelics, LSD and psilocybin.
There were 1,000 clinical papers published. 40,000 patients, I think, were studied. There were conferences, and everyone said, this is a great breakthrough. You know, we're really beginning to understand the brain and beginning to use LSD to help deal with disorders like
alcoholism, depression, anxiety, obsession, to understand schizophrenia. And they were regarded as potential psychiatric wonder drugs in that period.
In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new, all-out offensive.
Psychedelics are the antidote to propaganda in some ways. They help you develop a mindset that sees through all that. That's the real reason they're considered dangerous.
They're the only drugs to be made illegal because they were too politically dangerous.
There was an agenda, you know, a decision had been made that psychedelics were going to be banned.
They changed the way people viewed the way America was waging its war in Vietnam.
But we will not bomb the people, the women and children of another country.
Psychedelics leaked out of the research settings and began to be used by the counterculture and by the anti-Vietnam War movement.
The kids who take LSD aren't going to fight your wars.
That's the reason psychedelics are prohibited, because they encourage you to think for yourself.
Things had reached the stage where the government had to call out the army to protect the Pentagon from the people. It's both intimidating and it's also exhilarating because it means that the message of alienation and disagreement and contempt have gotten.
America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
These drugs were scheduled under Schedule I stature, so it became very difficult to get them. The academic institutions marginalized them, so it really was an area that fell into academic disrepute to be interested in these compounds. And so it resulted in this peculiar situation where these very interesting and novel psychoactive drugs simply didn't get studied for decades.
There is nothing smart, there is nothing grown up or sophisticated in taking an LSD trip at all. They're just being complete fools. Anyone that would engage in this or indulge in this is just a plain fool.
In effect, a demonization of these compounds, over-representation about their risk, and functionally shut research down for a period of decades.
And then they got kind of frozen in time. The research stops, and we did this amazing thing in the history of science, which we had a 30-year interregnum where nobody could study these drugs. And imagine what we could have learned.